Okay. Someone on TikTok told me to get help. And it's the funniest thing in the world because I posted, I don't know if you guys follow me on TikTok. If you do, you're in my fan club for sure. You're great. Thank you for the love and support. Yeah. But they were like, hey, I'm really concerned about your well-being. They told me to contact the police, to like go in my room, like in my closet, shut the door, and like contact the police because of this TikTok that I posted. And it so funny, guys. So basically the TikTok was, it wasn't my last, I think it was like a couple weeks ago. There was this trend and it's like, you're so funny in quotations, and then it lists like some like trauma you just experienced growing up. And a lot of people do say that my sense of humor is literally genuinely founded on my trauma. And I mean, it makes you funny, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like, we know how to cope. I think the best way to cope is to laugh through things, to laugh through the pain, to acknowledge that it sucked. But at the end of the day, we made it out, and we still have this, what can we do with this life of misery and agony and pain besides make a joke? And that's exactly what I did. When I was 11 years old, I was hospitalized for the first 2 weeks of my of the 5th grade. That was the summer, a lot happened that summer. It was the peak of where I was literally, like, I became the most damaged individual ever, like, that I became very, very much. That summer was crazy. But basically, what was happening leading up to it? Number one, I got braces, so I was super insecure about what I look like, what people would think of me when I got back to school, and like, I just wasn't vibing. Like, I was so scared. I was like, I'm ugly enough. Like, I thought I was the ugliest kid growing up because it was told to me. I would go to school, my parents didn't know how to dress me right. I mean, I can't blame them. I don't blame them at all, because yeah, I don't, like, I can't. I have to forgive them for dressing me in the way that they, like, it was just but also I had issues. I was shopping in the boys section at Target. Like, things were not great. It was like graphic tees with shorts that were to the knee. Like, it was not great. Like, I don't even know. It was a point in my life where my mom was like, are you you know? So that, I looked weird. And number three, I was super, like, I was like skin and bone, and I don't want to be like, oh, I was so skinny, like, oh my gosh, look at me, like, I'm so skinny. No, guys, I didn't eat. I ate, but like, it wasn't so basically, I was malnourished and deprived of nutrients. And again, I'm not blaming my offspring, I'm not blaming them, but I'm just saying, in a different world, in a better world, in a more enlightened, we're informed, there's people helping me. Like, in a perfect world, guys, I would be a normal body weight. I would not be malnourished. I would not be lacking calories. I would not have these issues. Since I was like very little, I had struggled a lot with because when I would eat things, they would upset my stomach. So what did I do? Not eat. And what was I fed? A lot of junk food, because of, like, number one, yes, ignorance, but number two, they didn't know, guys. They didn't know. So I look skin and bone. I look like a freaking, like, skeleton, just like walking around. I'm like 11. I got wires on my teeth. I got like a graphic tee that says, give me my money. Summer, we almost called 911. Like, let's just say things weren't great. So eventually my health declined to the point that I literally couldn't eat anything. Like, everything I would put in my body either came back up or down. Like, it wasn't good. I was not okay. Everything hurt. So my parents were like, oh god, because we were in the hospital like every single week. Like, I would always have one of these fits, and like, I was like, nothing's helping, like, I'm dying, which, like, it hurt. Like, I don't know. Okay, so flash forward to the week before 5th grade. I am hospitalized. And I initially thought I came in like another regular ER visit, but no, my parents had the intention of admitting me because they were fed up with me crying as per usual. And so I had that test done. I don't know, what is it, a CT scan or some kind of scan where you have to swallow like a gallon of liquid so they can like read what's inside of you to like assess if you have a tumor, if you have like something going on, if you got ulcers, which is what we thought. We thought it was an ulcer. But also my parents were very adamant that it was probably much more than an ulcer, that we were gonna get like a diagnosis that like a bit the worst diagnosis is what we were kind of set on. And so I was just there having the worst time of my life. That was the time I hallucinated for the first time because they were pumping drugs into me because I was freaking out. Like I said, guys, I've always had anxiety, but it was never acknowledged. Never like, oh, you're scared? Sucks. You're too young to be scared. Like all of that, you know? So obviously they were pumping in a bunch of drugs. There was a point where I like flatlined because like the drugs made me stop breathing. Like it was so bad. And then I was like tripping, like, well, anyways, the post was like, you're so funny, thanks. In the 5th grade, my father told my whole 5th grade class that I was in the hospital for terminal illness, when in reality I was just being neglected at home. And truth of the matter was that was the truth. But did my 5th grade class know that? No. People were giving us money. Everyone wrote me cards. My principal came to my hospital room while I was in a coma. I'm literally like, I don't know what this man saw, but bro, I was ugly. And he saw me in that vulnerable state. And like, I don't even think I ever got over that. I think I just like shoved it so deep inside of me that I literally can't process what even he came into. But yeah, people were bringing me flowers, balloons, like it was like, yeah. And when I came back to 5th grade, I had a panic attack in the hospital because I specifically told my parents, please do not tell them I am here for this reason. And they were gonna say like, oh my God, she's like dying. I was like, please show me that respect. And what did they do? Cross my boundaries like it was the border. Like, yeah. So basically, they told my whole class in the most dramatic way that I was like dying, like, and so everyone was freaking out. Everyone told their parents and their mom and their whole freaking family, like everyone knew. So when I came back, I was bombarded. It was like chased by a mob. I just remember like being in my hospital room before this even happened. I was crying to like the social worker, and I was like, please don't let him tell anyone. And she was like this was the first and only time in my childhood that I was reassured by an adult. And then she was like, don't worry, sweetie, like we will figure something out. If they want to contact me, here's my number. She wrote it on a post-it note and gave it to me. And bruh, everyone and their mother was asking what was wrong with me and if I was okay and if I was dying and how many more days I had to live. And yeah, so that was my first 2 weeks of 5th grade. I'll tell you guys this story to basically intro the episode, which is only gonna be 5 minutes because I forgot what I was going to talk about because that story was so intense, but I feel like I had to share it because people keep asking questions. And this one lady like DM'd me and she was like, you need to go ask for help, sweetheart. And then I was like, ma'am, like I'm 25 years old now. This was 15 years ago. And she was like, oh, my bad. I thought you were 12. Yes, she thought I was still in elementary school. She thought this event happened last year. But you know who else thinks it happened last year? My brain and body. my brain and body, yada yada. And I'm gonna talk about the little connection between the body and the brain. There's a lot that happens here. There's a lot that happens with trauma, childhood trauma. From my experience, a lot of my life and a lot of my childhood involved a word that starts with an R. And if you guys can guess what it is, you can star. I can invite you to my Patreon, but I don't have one yet. Repression. The word is repression. That's what I was doing 24/7 as a little kid. Something would happen, my brain can't process. So what do? Repress, repress, repress. Who's eating that up? My body, okay? And then flash forward 10 years, we have autoimmune disease, okay? I'm not saying repression correlates to autoimmune disease, but I'm giving you an example of what repression, what not processing your trauma will do to you long term. It is devastating, okay? Because when I was a kid, my brain was my brain. Her body was her body, okay? What I mean by that is that I very much uncontrollably was separating the two, okay? So when something would happen to me, something wouldn't happen to my conscience, to my brain. It would happen to that girl with the physical body. That's what would happen to her. What do? Like, what do kids do when something traumatic happens to them? They store it away in some shape or form or capacity because, number one, their brain can't process, but number two, if you just tuck it away and let your body deal with that and sit with that, I think that's an easy alternative than having to have your brain at 9 years old figure out why so much is happening. You know, it's just not possible. So what does the brain automatically do? Shut it down, put it away, hide it away. We open it in 10 years when you can think about it. And it's gonna come back even more graphic, okay? So that's what I did. But ultimately, that is your body, your brain's way of protecting you because you are too young. Like, you know, when you're in that, it's like when you're in the freeze response, your body takes over. When you're a child going through something very devastating and very traumatic, your body takes over. Of course, like as we develop, our thought processes change. And when we get to become an adult, we are now processing things with more detail, more understanding of the event, and being able to really like dissect individual parts, okay? So that's why we see so many adults wanting to seek therapy because like they feel ready and they're also bothered by things that come up in their present day life, which are also interconnected with what happened to them in the past. So when you look at that memory that I was sharing earlier about my parents basically lying and just saying that something happened, which it didn't happen, over exaggerating the thing, that was super traumatic for me. And because I didn't want to be the center of attention. I didn't like that when I was younger. I mean, of course I did. A part of me wanted to feel loved and acknowledged and seen. But when it came to something negative that was giving me attention, it was the worst thing I could think of happening to me. And that, in and of itself, was something super damaging because boundaries were crossed. I lost complete trust of both my parents, and ultimately, I was known as a joke for the next 4 years and beyond with whoever knew me at that point in time because they would acknowledge me as sick, weak, incapable, all these things that I have tried my whole life to prove that I'm not, and then you hit this roadblock like, oh, you are because, oh, weren't you in the hospital dying for 2 weeks, you know? And as you, like, typically when people are in that situation, you would expect a lot of like, oh, let me check in on you. What can I do? How can I be a better friend? Like, do you need support? All I got during that time, yes, cards, yes, gifts, money, whatever. But under that layer, I was like bullied for probably my senior year about it. So what did my childhood self do? She hid that. She hid that as best as she could because after my trauma resurfaced, after I hit that amnesia block when I was 21, where I like forgot what happened to me before the age of 18. If you guys don't know, there was a point in my life where I completely, my brain like couldn't remember what happened to me. I think I was 21, 22, and so I had no idea who I was, what I liked, and just it was a lot of relearning. It was a lot. Like, I don't know what that was yet, still working through it, but it was one of the memories that I did lose, and then it came flooding back. It was very recently, actually, like in the past year. I like thought about that and I was like, wow. Like I totally had forgot. But you know what didn't? My body, because of all the stress and like the pain and the chronic things that I deal with on the day-to-day. And then we're reading that book. Remember that book that I showed you on epigenetics, and it says like it's likely, not always of course, but if someone in your family experienced something traumatic at a certain age, there's a chance that you could experience something, not the same thing, but like be in a state of distress or uneasiness or uncertainty at that age. Okay? My brother passed away when he was 10, 11 years old. This hospitalization, this severe decline in my health that had my parents thinking I was gonna die, happened when I was 10, 11 years old. The way that actually played out in my life, and possibly many other events played out like that. But yeah, my body, her brain, the connection didn't happen when I was little, but it's happening now. And the part of healing that I want to emphasize today is you have to meet them together. You have to look at them in the eye and be like, you are one entity, you are one thing, and you are working on one goal, and that is to achieve better health so you can live the rest of your life for the inner child that didn't get to live at all. And that's the goal for survivors, and that's the goal for me, and I hope that's the goal for you. So that was episode 4. I thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you for episode 5. Hopefully, I don't know. Don't drop me. I've been dropped so many times.